Welcome to the History and Pixels channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos like this one. Enjoy the video. Seth Kinman, a skilled hunter of the Wild West, was known for his abilities. He had the honor of meeting President Andrew Johnson. He decided to gift the president with something unique and special, creating a truly extraordinary chair for him. The piece was made with elk horns and bear skin, giving it a rustic and impressive look. Johnson's peaceful life was interrupted when his wife was brutally executed by a warrior of the Crow tribe. Consumed by grief and rage, Johnson swore revenge and embarked on a dark journey to punish every member of the Crow tribe he encountered. During his vengeance, he became known throughout the Wild West as the liver eater for his brutal practice of executing, scalping, and devouring the liver of his enemies. Arizona and other states profited from prostitution through the licensing of brothels, taxation, and the imposition of fines. This source of income was used for local development and the funding of public projects. Prostitution in the 19th century, despite being legalized, faced prejudice. Sex workers were often marginalized and discriminated against. Rodeos were popular events, gathering people of all ages to celebrate the culture of the Wild West and watch thrilling performances. At this rodeo in California, the audience was amazed by the extraordinary feat of a woman and her horse jumping over a convertible. This spectacular moment symbolizes the courage, skill, and passion for life that were characteristics of the spirit of the Wild West. Tex Madsen was an American cowboy who became famous for his impressive height, over 2 meters and 10 centimeters. He caught the attention wherever he went and soon earned the title of the tallest cowboy. Tex's fame as the tallest cowboy quickly spread, and he soon began to be invited to participate in parades and special events. Tex appeared with his characteristic cowboy hat, and his presence was always a special attraction at the events he attended. Annie Oakley was one of America's first female celebrities and one of the greatest sharpshooters in history. With her extraordinary skill, she was not content with her own success alone. Annie believed in the empowerment of women through the learning of defense and shooting skills, so she dedicated part of her life to teaching women to shoot, encouraging them to become independent and secure. William Frederick Cody, better known as Buffalo Bill, saw his fame really grow when he created his troupe of Native American and cowboy shows known as Buffalo Bill's Wild West. His shows were so popular that he took his troupe on tour through the United States and Europe, captivating audiences with his stories about the Wild West. The show was a huge success worldwide, drawing crowds in every city it visited. In London in 1887, for example, more than 2 million people watched the spectacle. He was the first attraction to take the Wild West outside the borders of the United States and travel the world, presenting the culture of Native Americans as well as cowboys and outlaws of the Wild West. The show featured a wide variety of attractions, including reenactments of battles, horse races, pistol shootouts, and even a parade with more than 12,200 people. The battle reenactments were an important part of the Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. During the shows, performers staged famous battles of the Wild West, such as the Battle of Little Bighorn and the attack on a stagecoach by bandits. A notable man who became a legend in the American Wild West. We are talking about Bass Reeves, the first black deputy marshal of the United States west of the Mississippi River. In 1875, Reeves was appointed federal deputy marshal by Judge Isaac Parker, known as the Hangman of the West. Reeves excelled in his role, making over 3,000 arrests during his career. Additionally, he executed 14 outlaws in self-defense. Reeves preferred to bring criminals in alive whenever possible to face the law's judgment. One of the most common activities of the Wild West was hunting, and specifically let's talk about the hunters who ventured into the Four Peaks territory in Arizona. The region was known for its abundance of wildlife, including deer, rabbits, bears, and even cougars. The hunters who ventured into these lands needed courage and skill to handle the dangers they encountered along the way. James Butler Hickok, better known as Wild Bill, was one of the most famous gunmen of the American Wild West. Bill was known for his skill with a gun, especially with a pair of pistols he carried at all times. He was a buffalo hunter, a stagecoach guide, and even a lawman, but it was as a gunslinger that Bill became famous. This image of Billy the Kid is one of the only two confirmed photographs that exist of the legendary outlaw. It was taken in 1877, showing Billy playing cards with some of his companions in the New Mexico territory. Although the image has been damaged over the years, it remains one of the most famous from American Wild West history. The mountain men were hunters and explorers who lived in mountainous and rural areas of the American West. They were known for being very skilled at hunting and surviving in wild and hostile environments. This particular photo showing a mountain man transports us to that era of the Wild West where life was much more difficult and challenging. The year is 1907, and life in the American Wild West was quite different from what we know today. A very special cow became the heroine of the story. Every day she had the important mission of taking 7 children to school. Have you ever thought about going to school on a cow? At the end of the 19th century, Guthrie in Oklahoma was a place filled with opportunities for those willing to face the challenges of the Wild West. Settlers drawn by the promise of prosperity began to arrive in town in search of a place to call home. Amid this scenario, a man newly arrived in town looks for a piece of land to build his new life. Annie Oakley grew up in a humble family and faced many challenges from an early age. As a child, she developed impressive shooting skills which helped support her family through hunting. Annie's talent soon caught the attention of the legendary Buffalo Bill, who invited her to join his famous show, the Buffalo Bill Wild West. Annie Oakley became one of the main attractions of the show, enchanting audiences from all corners of the United States and Europe. A group of brave Navajo riders embarks on an epic journey, crossing the desert of Canyon de Chelly on horseback through arid and challenging terrains. The Navajo riders are known for their skill and bravery in the desert. An iconic leader of the American Wild West was Quanah Parker, the last chief of the Comanches. During the 19th century, the Comanches faced various battles against the United States Army, which sought to expand its territory and control indigenous lands. Under the leadership of Quanah Parker, the Comanches fought bravely to defend their people and their traditions. An indigenous woman Tlingit from Alaska named Cow Claw, who in 1906 donned her potlatch dance attire, a traditional ceremony rich in symbolism and traditions. During the potlatch ceremony, Cow Claw and other members of the Tlingit community gathered to dance, sing, and share stories and traditions. Life in the American Wild West was full of challenges and opportunities. Many families moved to the region in search of a better life and new lands to cultivate. These sisters lived this reality and together built a sod house in Custer County, Nebraska. These houses were made with blocks of compacted earth and covered with grass. Throughout his life, James Miller was involved in numerous confrontations and shootouts in the Wild West. He was known for his coldness and precision, which earned him the nickname Killing Jim, Killer Miller. He worked as a hired gunman and also participated in bank and train robberies. The turbulent life of James Miller came to an end in 1909 when he was captured and executed for his numerous crimes. The Homestead Act, enacted in 1862, allowed any American citizen to claim up to 160 acres of public lands, provided they built a residence and cultivated the land for at least 5 years. Many families ventured into Nebraska in search of these lands and a better life. They faced numerous difficulties and challenges in establishing their farms and building their homes. They had to deal with extreme weather, a lack of resources, and loneliness. Pearl Hart planned and executed a daring stagecoach robbery in Arizona, wearing men's clothing and demonstrating audacity and courage. She surprised everyone and became a well-known outlaw, attracting the attention of the authorities and the media. The Hatfield family was a typical family of the American Wild West. They left their mark in history through a photograph taken in 1888 where they appeared together, displaying their pride and unity. The Hatfield photograph allows us to delve into the history of the Wild West. To this day, life in the Wild West was full of challenges and adversities, especially for farmers. They faced extreme weather conditions and the difficulty of cultivating arid and infertile lands. In 1894, Midland, Texas, witnessed a frightening sandstorm that swept through the region, affecting farmlands and the lives of farmers. The photo of this storm shows us the force of nature. In 1894, in the Oklahoma Territory, There was a law office in Round Pond where land claim negotiations were conducted. This office helped pioneers secure their rights and formalize property purchase and sale transactions. The Rufus Buck Gang was composed mainly of young African Americans and indigenous people who united to challenge the established order and left a trail of violence and crimes wherever they went. They became known for committing a series of robberies, thefts, and kidnappings. They terrorized communities in the Wild West and quickly became targets of local and federal authorities. After a series of confrontations with the law and other criminals, the gang was eventually captured and sentenced to hang. The sex workers operating on the Alaska frontier were a diverse group, including women from various ethnic and national backgrounds. They arrived in Alaska seeking opportunities and a better life, just like the men who participated in the gold rush. Some of them became successful entrepreneurs, investing their earnings in local businesses such as hotels, restaurants, and saloons. One of the most famous indigenous leaders in United States history, Geronimo. He became known for leading his tribe in various battles against American forces, bravely fighting for the defense of his people and their lands. For many years, Geronimo led attacks against American settlements and military troops, becoming one of the greatest enemies of the United States Army. One of the most famous outlaws in American history, Butch Cassidy, whose real name was Robert Leroy Parker, was born in Utah in 1866. He became famous for leading the group of outlaws known as the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang, which specialized in train and bank robberies. But what made him so famous was his ability to escape the law. He was a master of disguise and creating elaborate plans for his robberies. Let's learn a bit more about the story of Iron White Man, a Sioux Indian who became famous for his participation in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. He was known for his skill with horses and the way he handled his bow and arrow. He joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show in 1883 and quickly stood out for his thrilling performances. An interesting character, Judge Roy Bean, known as the Law west of the Pecos. Judge Bean, who was known to be an eccentric and strong-tempered man, often judged cases while under the influence of alcohol. He boasted of having been appointed judge by the President of the United States himself, although the story is contested by historians. One of the most common activities of the Wild West was hunting, and specifically let's talk about the hunters who ventured into the Four Peaks territory in Arizona. The region was known for its abundance of wildlife, including deer, rabbits, bears, and even cougars. The hunters who ventured into these lands needed courage and skill to handle the dangers they encountered along the way. Joe Black Fox, a Sioux Indian who was part of the famous Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. In the show, he participated in battle reenactments and tribal dance presentations, showing the audience the traditions and customs of his people. His participation in the Wild West show also allowed him to travel the world and learn about other cultures. General George Crook, one of the most well-known military leaders of the 19th century. Crook joined the United States Army in 1852 and served in several campaigns during the American Civil War. After the war, he was assigned to lead military campaigns against American Indian tribes in the West, becoming one of the main military commanders of the period. Billy the Kid escaped from prison twice. The first time, he killed 2 guards before fleeing. The second time, he dug a hole in the cell wall using only a spoon. Although known as an outlaw, Billy the Kid had a charismatic personality and many friends. He was particularly close to Sheriff Pat Garrett before they became enemies. A fascinating image from the American Wild West. A photo taken in 1871 by William Henry Jackson in Nebraska showing the indigenous leader Pataliro. At the time this photo was taken, the indigenous tribes were facing many challenges, including the loss of territories and the threat of forced assimilation. A unique moment from the American Civil War. In the image, we can see an American soldier clowning around for the camera around 1863. This photo is one of the rarities that allow us to see a bit of the humanity and humor that still existed amidst the chaos of the war. After Wild Bill's death, Calamity Jane visited his grave in South Dakota several times. The photo in question shows her at Wild Bill's grave in 1903, years after his death. One of the most well-known stories involving Jane and her relationship with Wild Bill was that the two met in 1876 and supposedly had a romance, Although an amazing photo from 1872 showing a group of Paiute Indians in Utah. The Paiute are a Native American group that lived in the Great Basin region in the western United States. They were nomadic and depended on hunting, fishing, and gathering fruits and seeds for survival. Unfortunately, their history was marked by the oppression and violence of settlers who established themselves on their lands. Buffalo Bill's biggest attraction were his cowboys and their shooting enactments. The truth is that many of the cowboys in the Wild West show were real professionals who worked as hunters, lawmen, or even criminals before joining the show. These cowboys were so good that Buffalo Bill paid them very well. In fact, many of the show's cowboys never had to worry about financial problems because of the money they earned.